Hi everyone, it's Tammy. I thought I'd take a little bit of time actually right now because I've been getting in a lot of conversations with people regarding natural remedies and this belief that we think that natural is the way to go, and for as much as it isn't. And what I mean by that is every chemical, actually every chemical that we consume, every chemical that our body produces affects our genetics in some way. What that means is that the way medications are designed is they specifically target various genes and in different parts of the body and receptors, in either encouraging them and in influencing their function or inhibiting their function. Every chemical actually does that, and the thing is what we realize is when we know, when we're paying attention to what these medications are doing, and say, for that matter, stimulating GABA production or inhibiting a particular liver enzyme in order to maintain blood serum levels so that the medication stays in the body a little bit longer. When we realize that that stuff is happening, we actually have to understand that the opposite is actually happening as well. Sir Isaac Newton is the one that said for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. And we're focusing on the actions that these medications are taking, but we're not really understanding the opposite reactions. The same thing can be said for natural remedies. It doesn't make any difference. Anything can be toxic. It doesn't have to be a pharmaceutical. In fact, some pharmaceuticals benefit from the use of support with natural remedies. The secret is in finding out what works together and doesn't cause problems, additional problems. So identifying how these natural remedies also work within the body. We realize that our own hormones will activate, inactivate, activate as well as inactivate various functions within the body depending on what the body needs. It's not it doesn't mean that there's something wrong. It means that the body is actually trying to preserve itself. Pardon me. We can look at it as if there's something wrong, and in fact there is something that's not functioning well. So what the body does is it tries to counter what's going on. And so, like I said, we know that various chemicals that we produce actually have this effect on the body. So our own chemistry is doing it, the medications are doing it, and again, the natural remedies, any herbs, homeopathics, oils, anything that we're taking is having an effect on the receptors, the genetics, causing an action as well as an equal and opposite reaction. And making awareness around this is really what I'm wanting to do at this point, because this is so important. I have people that come to me and they take, I need to know everything that they're taking when I start working with them, because I don't, and it's funny because I've had a couple of people go, well, I'm afraid to tell you what I'm taking because you're going to tell me it's not good for me. And it's not about saying what you're doing is wrong. It's bringing awareness. It's helping you understand that what you've currently got going on, this is the impact it's having on the body, and beginning to work with your body with the tool of awareness. Because once you're aware of what's going on, then you can adjust accordingly to best support your body. I'm going to do another longer video on nitric oxide synthase, an actual gene complex called NOS, because I see a lot of people struggling with that. But the interesting thing is, I've talked about histamine in the past, and I will continue to talk about histamine. And many people come to me because they have histamine issues, and I've said it countless times that when one chemical is out, the entire chemical system is out. What I mean by that is when one neurotransmitter is out of balance, they're all out of balance, because the body, again, is seeking to restore balance. So if you're low on dopamine, high in histamine, you're going to have counterbalances going on in order to help the body to self-regulate to the best of its ability. This is the reason why it's so dependent upon our on our awareness, because the wisdom within the cells can only do so much, and we have the tools and the access to be able to counter any upsetting issues. You know, like I said, histamine is a big problem for so many people, and but the interesting thing is it's not just histamine. I've mentioned in prior videos that when histamine's high, estrogen is typically high. Actually, they both go hand in hand, which then filters into yeast being high. One of the best ways that the body uses helps to deactivate histamine is through the production of glycine, but there are natural remedies that inhibit the production of glycine, because glycine then is necessary for SAMe production. SAMe production is used for neurotransmitter production, and therefore as well as neurotransmitter metabolism, more importantly, where dopamine gets converted to norepinephrine, serotonin gets converted to melatonin, as well as the deactivation of histamine. So there's a lot of chemicals that our body is designed to produce that help to keep the chemistry regulated. If you go and try to take a neurotransmitter to offset the imbalance, you're going to create imbalances elsewhere. The same thing happens when we take hormones. Just to go out and take testosterone or to take an estrogen doesn't do the body good, because insulin is part of that, leptin is a part of that. You know, the adipose tissue is an endocrine organ. This is the reason why we see weight issues as we get older. It's if so many people are trying to offset the estrogen and testosterone imbalance as they age, that what they're doing is they're upsetting the entire endocrine system. So if I were to say that their best approach to all health care issues is to work with maintaining the balance of the neuroendocrine system, you would be worlds apart from your friends and family who aren't doing so. So it's not about just regulating histamine, and it's not about making sure you have enough serotonin if you're dealing with depression, or enough norepinephrine if you have high blood pressure or autism. I mean, these are various chemicals that are noted in schizophrenia as well. I mean, schizophrenia is, you know, they've linked histamine, dopamine, and glutamate imbalances with schizophrenia. But there again, you've got 3 neurotransmitters right there. So that just goes to show you that all of them are out of balance. And so, yes, some bodies, depending on their particular genome, will have lower than normal dopamine levels. If addiction is involved, then you have you know, the stimulation of production of dopamine and not enough receptors, because the brain is actually changing itself. If the brain structure changes itself, there are transcription factors in the brain. FOXP2 gene is typically linked to speech and language, but what they know about that particular genetic complex is it regulates neurotransmitters, which affects the structure of the brain. So, you know, if something occurs in life, no matter what it is, an exposure to a chemical, stress, medications, if these can alter your genetics depending on your specific genome, and you can alter the structure of your brain. And now by having, again, like I said, neuroendocrine imbalances. So is it really important to identify? Well, I know a lot of people like to know what's out, but if you really pay attention to the symptoms and you address the system as a whole and stop looking to increase dopamine or increase serotonin or reduce histamine, and actually beginning to help regulate it itself, stimulating the body to produce BH4 and supporting the BH4 production so that neurotransmitters can be produced and hormones can be used appropriately, stimulating the production of SAMe. In some cases, it's necessary to take supplementation along these lines, but you don't want to take it for long. At the same time, I'll give you an example. If you choose to take SAMe, or BH4, because I know there's some naturopaths now that are supplementing people with BH4. If you go that route, it's important to help the body produce these chemicals on its own so that you can begin taking the supplementation and then eventually work yourselves off. Histamine is a very important chemical as it is linked directly to the immune system. And so if you're exposed to something or you're producing, if you've got genetic issues that are producing toxins, you're going to be producing histamine. And if your body is unable to metabolize it or deactivate it properly, you're going to have an influx of more symptoms. Helping the body to deactivate it is incredibly important, but at the same time, restoring balance to that entire system is really where the work lies. And again, like I said, realizing that for every chemical that we take in, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So, like I said, I'm going to say it again, whether it's a homeopathic, an herb, an essential oil, medication, food additive, stress, no matter, or for that matter, your own chemistry, there is going to be an equal and opposite reaction. Now, yes, this does make it sound rather complicated, because at what point do you know what's happening? Well, this is where the relationship with your body is key, and this is where your body relies on you. This is the body that God gave you to live life and to show up and to produce and provide your gifts to the world. So to care for that vessel is really important, and to have a relationship with it isn't about selfishness. It's about being able to take care of it and understand what it needs. And so the symptoms are a key factor. I had someone ask me the other day, yesterday as a matter of fact, if there was a genetic test that could tell you what really is going on. And the answer is no. It's virtually impossible. We have, every one of us has approximately 10 million different adaptations within the body. It's virtually impossible to say which ones are functioning properly and which ones are actually creating problems. The only real test is going to be in the symptoms. And that is probably, and then of course there's crossover. And so therefore now it gets confusing. So if you listen to the symptoms and you hear the dis-ease in the body, and I'm not saying anybody has a disease, what I'm saying is when I use the word dis-ease, it's more about a lack of ease. A disorder is a lack of order. This is a lack of ease in the body and a lack of order in the chemistry. And if you can restore balance to that by paying attention to the symptoms, by acknowledging the dis-ease that you're feeling, then you can actually restore order. So this is where this is the crux of my work, and this is how I love to support people. And this is the part that I pay attention to when it comes to working with people, is really looking into what they're using and what effects it's having, because sometimes it is good and sometimes it's actually compounding the problems that you're having. So if you have any questions, please contact me. I have somebody having fun out here in the street, so pardon my distraction. I just had to be outside today. It's just too nice. We're seeing springtime, and I had to be outdoors in the sunshine. So anyway, I just wanted to share this with you and let you know that it's imperative, if your health is in the world, in line of the work that you're looking to do. Some people don't have as many issues with health. Others do, and so this can go for prevention. In fact, this is actually very critical for kids. If kids are actually taught this, their future health is far more promising than those of us who have been struggling with our health. And just keep in mind that the more we actually take into our body, the more complicated it gets. So realizing everything that you're doing, and yes, it may have an immediate relief as far as the symptoms right here, right now are concerned, but long term, it's complicating matters. You know, earlier I mentioned there was a homeopathic that I recently came across that actually affects glycine production. It inhibits glycine production, and glycine is a very important chemical for the body. The interesting thing is this particular person was actually also dealing with a lot of nitric oxide issues, as well as histamine glycine filters right into that complex, and the production of neurotransmitters, like I said, and the deactivation of histamine. So it's really a very important chemical for the body, and even though it was supporting for the immediate symptoms that she was dealing with, long term, it's actually compounding her problem for the future. So this is where I can support you, and I'm happy to. So please let me know what questions you have, and I look forward to speaking to you very soon. The next video I want to do is going to be, like I said, on nitric oxide, so be looking for that. That would be for people who are dealing with cardiovascular issues, respiratory issues, depression, more importantly, any kind of neurological issues. A lot of this stems from nitric oxide synthase imbalances, and people who have used such drugs as cocaine, that's a neurotoxin, and it's known for scarring the brain. And so I want to throw addiction in there because I understand the self-medicating component to that, because it actually keeps dopamine in the brain. I do understand that completely, and at the same time the neurotoxins that occur. So oftentimes looking at people who have, like I said, depression of some level, an autoimmune disorder that's neurological, respiratory issues, even something as innocent as asthma, digestive issues, whether it be ulcerative colitis or indigestion, heartburn, cardiovascular issues such as high blood pressure or hardening of the arteries. These are all linked to the nitric oxide, so be warned. There's one coming up on that. So I look forward to speaking with you. If this interests you at all, please let me know what questions you have, and I will see you very soon. Have a beautiful day. Bye now.